Breaking news. Two New York City police officers, Officer Rafael Ramos and Officer Wenjan Liu, were gunned down in broad daylight Saturday while sitting in their squad car. Eyewitnesses say the gunman, who's been identified as 28-year-old Ismail Brinsley, shot at the officers through the passenger side window. The mayor of New York, Bill de Blasio, says the officers never even had the chance to reach for their guns. He says they may have never even seen it coming. Police say Brinsley then ran to a nearby subway station where he turned the gun on himself. Brinsley allegedly posted this anti-police message to Instagram before the attack, and an hour later, this message was posted, leading investigators to believe that these were revenge killings for Eric Garner and Mike Brown. Both families denounced the attack and are calling for peace. Baltimore police say before the ambush, Brinsley shot his ex-girlfriend in Baltimore before traveling to Brooklyn. His ex-girlfriend is expected to survive. 32-year-old Officer Wenjan Liu got married just 2 months ago, and Officer Rafael Ramos turned 40 this month. You're watching Headlines. I'm Nye Styles, covering some of the top stories from December 14th to December 20th in less than 10 minutes. Making headlines overseas. The dramatic end to a 16-hour hostage situation at a Lindt chocolate cafe in Australia. This footage aired live around the world as Sydney police stormed the cafe to rescue a dozen hostages after they heard gunshots coming from inside. In all, 17 people were held captive. 5 managed to escape before police went in. The man behind it all, Mahan Haran Monis, an extremist who detectives say had no ties to ISIS, the Taliban, or any other known terrorist organization. 2 hostages were killed. Monis was killed by police. And also in Australia, 3 days after that hostage situation ended in Sydney, 8 children were found dead in a home in the northern part of the country. They were just 18 months to 14 years old. The children's 20-year-old brother found them when he got home from school. On Saturday, the mother of 7 of those children was arrested on suspicion of murder. The 8th child was her niece. And another unthinkable tragedy also involving children this week, this one in Pakistan. On Tuesday, 132 children were massacred, 13 adults killed, and more than 100 others injured. 7 members of the Pakistani Taliban ambushed an army public school where mostly children of Pakistani soldiers attend. The terrorists were heavily armed and strapped with explosive vests as they went room to room spraying bullets. The terror group says they attacked the school because the kids there aspired to be soldiers who would later become their enemies. By the end of the massacre, all 7 terrorists were dead. The Taliban group in Afghanistan publicly criticized the attack and offered their condolences to victims and their families. This week in politics, trade and travel restrictions between the U.S. and Cuba could be lifted as early as next month. President Obama plans to use executive orders to begin restoring the relationship between the United States and the island that's only 90 miles off the coast of Florida. This comes after Pope Francis spent the last 18 months mediating a prisoner swap. 2 American prisoners being held in Cuba were traded for 3 Cubans being held here. Companies like Pepsi, Caterpillar, and Marriott are already planning to expand to the island. Happening now. On Saturday, North Korea announced it had nothing to do with the cyber attack on Sony. The country even offered to do a joint investigation with the U.S. to clear its name. But the White House isn't buying it. This comes after the FBI says it traced the attack on Sony back to North Korea. They say the country employed the hacker group Guardians of Peace to carry out the cyber attack on Sony to prevent the release of the movie The Interview because it suggests the leader of North Korea should be assassinated. On Tuesday, the hackers threatened 9/11-style attacks on any movie theater that showed the film. Sony was then forced to cancel the Christmas release of the movie because too many theaters backed out of showing it, a move President Obama disagrees with.
We cannot have a society in which some dictator someplace can start imposing censorship here in the United States. Imagine what they start doing when they see a documentary that they don't like or news reports that they don't like.
On Friday, Sony execs said they're exploring alternative options for releasing the movie. Well, same-sex couples across Florida can start planning their weddings. Back in August, a federal judge ordered the state to start issuing same-sex marriage licenses after January 5th, 2015. Florida's Attorney General filed an appeal to have that date pushed back. On Friday, though, the U.S. Supreme Court said it would not back Florida's delay on same-sex marriages, making Florida the 36th state to allow same-sex marriage. Crime and punishment. The Boston Marathon bombing suspect was back in court Thursday. 21-year-old Dzhokhar Tsarnaev hasn't been seen by the public since July 2013. His first public appearance in almost 18 months was met with protesters, but he even had some supporters.
We pray for you. We're here for you, Dzhokhar. We know you're innocent. Be strong, son.
That was the mother-in-law of the suspect who was shot and killed in Florida by an FBI agent during interrogation. 3 people died and more than 260 others were injured in the bombing. Jury selection begins next month. Attorneys will have to choose from 1,200 potential jurors. A U.S. Marine and Iraqi war veteran was found dead in the woods after detectives say he killed his ex-wife and 5 of her relatives. After Monday's manhunt, investigators say they found 35-year-old Bradley Stone on Tuesday, dead with self-inflicted cutting wounds. They say the killing spree started around 3:30 Monday morning. They say Stone went to his ex-wife's sister's house where he killed his ex-wife's sister, her sister's husband, and the couple's 14-year-old daughter. They say he then went to his ex-wife's mother's house where he killed his ex-wife's mother and her grandmother. Investigators say around 5 a.m., Stone went to his ex-wife's apartment where he then killed her. A Massachusetts mother was just indicted on several charges after prosecutors say she caused the death of 3 of her babies. Prosecutors called the crime scene gruesome. Detectives say they found a 3-month-old, a 6-month-old, and a baby who still had the umbilical cord attached among piles of used diapers and feces. A neighbor who made the discovery testified in court saying it looked like the 3-month-old was, quote, dipped in feces. Murray is facing 2 murder charges, concealing a fetal death, neglect, abuse, and reckless endangerment. An officer from Richmond, California, won't face charges for bringing home 4 pounds of weed instead of checking it into evidence. Back in September, investigators discovered that K-9 officer Rick Rivera never filed a report after confiscating a marijuana shipment that came into a UPS store last year. Rivera says he used 2 pounds of weed to train his police dog. Prosecutors say they won't file charges because there's no evidence that he sold or used the drugs illegally. Viral this week, a dog born with 2 deformed front legs is getting the chance to be a normal dog for the first time, all thanks to a 3D printer. This is Derby. He was adopted from peaceandpaws.org, a website where people can rescue dogs from high-kill shelters. His new owner got him a cart to help with getting around, but he still couldn't run and play with other dogs. That's when his owner and her colleagues decided to use a 3D printer to design prosthetics. And now, Derby can't stop running. Derby's story has reached more than 5 million views on YouTube in just 5 days. Thanks for watching. Make sure you come back next week for more top stories. Push for peace.